the written authority decision. So you've mentioned in the evidence in answers to Sharon Dowie already about external commercial advisors. Are you prepared to share the workings of those commercial advisors with this committee?
The government the government absolutely remains committed to an open and transparent approach to our decision making.
So that's going to be a yes, then, is it?
So we've discussed with the Auditor General already and his team what we will be able to share in regard to the AO assessment and what additional information we can provide to Parliament. There are commercial sensitivities involved in this type of assessment, and that will place constraints on what we can put in to the public domain. But our commitment is to be as transparent as we can be, and we will work that through. And as I said, we're in discussion with the Auditor General and his team. But there are commercial sensitivities, and that will place limits on what we can share.
Yeah, I mean, and we understand that, and I think we've stated as a committee on numerous occasions that we are fully behind the success of FMPG and that yard winning more work and being successful. But I bring you back, Mr Irwin, to, you've mentioned a few times the Scottish Public Finance Manual. There is a section in the Public Finance Manual about this committee and about your accountability, not just to the government, but to Parliament, but to this committee in particular. And it says in the advice to you as the accountable officer in that finance manual, you may also be called to satisfy the committee that all relevant financial considerations were brought to the attention of ministers. So, with that in mind, would you be prepared to share that information with us?
I mean, I can provide you with assurance that all relevant financial matters have been brought to the attention of ministers. That's the nature of the process that we've gone through in commissioning due diligence, interrogating that, producing a detailed value for money assessment, and then reaching the conclusion that it can't gain sufficient assurance that value for money for the completion of 802 is sufficiently assured. And it was on that basis that I sought written authority. So absolutely, we have provided ministers with the information that they require and the assurance that they need.
But again, I go back to my earlier question. Are you prepared to share that with this committee? We understand entirely that there may be some elements of the work that you do in relation to FMPG that contain matters which are commercially sensitive. But presumably there is a way of supplying that information to us that would could be done in such a way that it wouldn't compromise commercial and confidential information.
As you've acknowledged, I think we all have a shared interest in ensuring the commercial success of the yards. The competitive position of the yard is absolutely central to that. So we need to be careful that we don't share information that is commercially sensitive or that we don't put that into the public domain. What we are doing and will work through with the Auditor General and his team is to see what we can do by way of sharing additional information. That process is ongoing. It's not yet complete. We absolutely need to get it right because we are committed to transparency. We do want to show our working as much as we can, but while respecting that constraint that there is some commercially sensitive information, and we need to be careful that that doesn't is either not placed into the public domain intentionally or inadvertently. So we just need to make sure that we get that right with and we'll take advice from the Auditor General and his team in that regard.
And can you give us this morning a timescale for when you will make decisions about what can and cannot be released?
I don't have a firm timescale for that. I think
roughly.
I would imagine it would be a matter of weeks rather than months. I think it is important that we get this right. And on all matters of sharing information that potentially impacts on the commercial viability of the yard, we absolutely need to make sure that we make those judgments in the right way, and that we do our best to be as transparent as we can be. But we will work through that process as diligently and as promptly as we can, while making sure that we make those judgments in the right way.
Okay, well, let me turn to something